There we go. Hi, YouTube. We're back with the podcast. Sometimes OBS is a little bit of a pain in the ass. Uh, but we're back. We got, I guess, a few things we could talk about. We could talk about the Bonanza a little bit. A lot of people are excited for it because of the reprints and stuff like that. My only issue with it is that it's a like 300 card set again. Like, so
Kind of negates the whole point of the last set that they just did reprint set that they did too.
yeah, the whole tens where it just like completely didn't
So like
matter.
you basically just screwed over a bunch of freaking card shops. It's not something you want to really do. That's gonna burn some bridges.
Yeah, I mean, Konami
That's
doesn't
already
actually.
a big Yu-Gi-Oh issue.
Yeah, Konami doesn't have a lot of good faith with a lot of card shops anyway. So,
Yeah, this only just makes it worse.
mm,
A lot of them are probably going to be stuck on those tens for a while if they haven't gotten rid of them yet.
yeah, I'm gonna jump to the Bonanza page, I guess. Bam. Crazy how that works. Um, so like, I guess I should have shared my screen. Here we go. They can see my Discord. It's fine. It's uh, there we go. You get to see it too.
Oh, hey, I actually put this on the main screen so that I'm not looking off to the left onto my like tiny
Mm.
little screen I have right here. Which is it's kind of funny because the screen that I have off to the right side of me right here, it's like my go-to screen.
Mm.
So it's really weird to have things on this main one right here because I don't use it that much.
So I'm just gonna kind of scroll
Um,
through slowly, and then we could talk. Like a lot of these cards are in the quote unquote nostalgia thing. So like they consider the Dragon Rulers nostalgic. They consider uh Dragon Ravine, Vanities, and Globe Bulb, Nostalgic, Slifer, of course, Naturias,
I remember
Drax.
people like why Rodentone, and I'm like, there exist formats that aren't Edison that you can play Frog Monarchs in
Yeah.
that can use Rodentone. In fact, what plant format you can use Rodentone, I believe, can't you?
Mm-hmm. We got
Or not plant
Slifer,
format, but
and
yeah.
most of the things are very like normal for their reprint and everything. Oh, whole screen freaked
That's
out as soon as I jumped up to the top. Abyss, the more Dragon Rulers, the stuff like that. Some Six
Ghost
Samurai.
Reaper is interesting. Danger Bigfoot. That's actually
Mm.
funny that that's nostalgic now. I mean, it's probably not in a nostalgic slot, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Has both artworks. It
interesting
has the
that
Yeti and the original. Apparently, Ghost is
nice.
just the alternate artwork. Laundry, Protos. Like I said, these are probably not. They're just part of
Protos
main
was a
set.
needed. Nemesis Flag was probably another one that needed it. I remember the
Mm.
regional people asking for it.
Abyss, the
Um,
shark stuff.
Abyss Shark.
It makes sense. They just got like new support. The Abel Star needed a reprint. Flamberge probably didn't, but it's fine. Colossus, House Dragon. Overall, it looks like an
House
okay
Dragon's
set.
fine.
I think it
I
looks
don't
like an
know if
okay
Toad
set.
needed another print.
Probably not, but here we are. The I don't know.
Well, I guess the
This
alternative prints of it were starting to go up. SP needed it.
yeah. So did the Flame Princess. Uh,
Yeah, both of those needed it.
I think those definitely
Monster
need it.
Reborn probably didn't need it.
These two are like the biggest reprints along with Thrust. As we'll
Yeah,
see.
I'm not happy about Thrust, but that's fine.
Like that's
I got to
literally like
use
the only
mine.
thing. I guess Grass kinda.
Grass. It's kind of funny because I thought of buying a few of that card before it came
Mm,
back to one. I was like, oh, what's the chances TCG's ever going to get this card back? And then it happened, and I went, well, dang.
mm.
I mean, I wouldn't play with it. Ash Blossom exists in this meta, and that's basically what makes.
Yeah, but now we can Thrust for the Ash or for Grass. We don't have to play Left Arm Offering. So
I I never thought of that we can just thrust for grass.
mm-hmm.
Maybe I will put the Paleozoic deck together again.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that to my locals because it's
Clo- uh,
obnoxious.
Clockwork Knight getting a reprint is pretty good because they got that
It,
whole announcement of that Link 1 that searches it and everything over in the OCG. So the fact we're getting a reprint of it probably says we're going to get that card like somewhat soon.
Bonfire again, a reprint.
That's a very good reprint too. So is Wanted.
Oh yeah, that card's a miracle card, man. You just draw it and you play it immediately,
Mm.
and your opponent gets, oh wait, this isn't magic.
Mm. Oh, Rivalry reprint for older formats.
Why?
It's probably part of the
Uh,
nostalgia set. Same thing with Curse Seal of the Forbidden
Curse
Spell.
Seal of Forbidden Spell. That was a fun card.
Grave of the
Grave of the Super Ancient. Is this
Orchidism.
why Trevor asked us about
Yeah,
this card?
yeah. It was. That's why Trevor asked us, is because he's like was asking, and I was like, I don't think I said it, but I was like, oh, this isn't the nostalgia pool. This is just the main set, and then the nostalgia pool's right after it.
Trap Trick. That's a good. I
Mm,
mean, they gave it a common printing, so it should be accessible. But I think giving it different rarities like that gives people more of a selection to play it. And of course,
yeah.
Blue Eyes gets printed again.
I'm not gonna go over the nostalgia pool to be honest. Like everybody, it's gonna be like
Oh.
Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, and stuff like that. And it has some Necroz
Yeah,
cards.
Card Trooper,
Yeah,
Run Totem,
they've been showing that one throughout the whole time. So, but
Swap Frog, right?
yeah, I flip over to Master
Oh,
Duel. Uh, Master Duel
what's up with?
new ban list. Gandora and Sova
Ooh,
are no longer limited. So,
Silva, Warlord of the Dark World, no longer limited.
they just go. They went back to 3.
I've actually been playing this game lately, so you know.
Mm-hmm. A new secret pack.
Um,
We got so Diabosis, Nightmare, and the Nightmares, Chimeras stuff is all going to be in one
did,
secret pack. Uh,
did they do anything else with the list, or is that just the changes up there
that's
that
just the changes. Then we got the new
that
selection pack, and that's gonna have
isn't
the
isn't Tenpai
Gandora.
like dominating everything?
Yeah, that's why they had these cards come back because they're not gonna probably do anything. So, uh, but for the selection pack, we got the Shining Sarcophagus deck coming, and the Flame Swordsman deck, and some of the new Melodious cards and Madolche cards. That's really
Dolce.
that's really all there is for this. And I'm like, this was sleeping fucking deck. Nemeleria is getting its own secret pack, so cool for those fans. Makes it easier to build that deck. Overall, it's okay. Changes. So, oh, there's the alternate artwork for the new dual terminal set. Here's Lurie's alternate artwork right here. He looks like he's
Oh
having the time
God,
of
they
his
gave
life.
him a gun. Or no, it's not
That's
a
a
gun. It's
mask.
just a knife. Okay.
It's a
Oh, that's a
mask.
mask. I thought they gave him a gun. I'm like, okay, is that a little on the nose to just give him a gun?
He's having the time
Well,
of
we
his
know what deck
life.
you guys are playing him in.
Hmm. And then there's the new Jirac Meteor. Personally, I think I like the old one more. It looked more like a meteor.
Yeah. No, this is like oh, what was that game where they roll out into the ball and they snap out of the sphere?
Uh,
Oh, Bakugan.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Bakugan?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah. It's
Bakugan.
his that's his unleashed Bakugan form, guy.
Hmm.
Like you roll him out and he rolls out and then suddenly he just snaps open.
I
Oh
personally.
no, I'm a nerd.
Oh, I did not mean to turn off my
I
camera.
don't like staring into the abyss.
There it goes. Personally, I'm more excited about the Bonanza and some of the like staple cards getting reprinted. Can't wait to get Thrust in a super rare.
So, looked at my secret rare thrust. Sad noises.
I'm gonna
You know, it's
have.
funny. I found it in a box because I remember buying it from a friend.
Mm,
Um, oh, ice! I'm so jealous. But I remember buying it from him, like, "Yeah, I could use this in my deck," and then we went and did the event in California, the YCS in California, and I had it that whole time, and I wasn't playing with it, and I don't know why I wasn't.
Mm.
And I was like, maybe a couple weeks ago, I went, "I still have this card, let's slap it into the Sprite."
But yeah, I'm drinking
As
ice.
you know, I've just been it's been a very Stefan moment of
Mm.
I own this really spendy card. And it's really good in my deck, and I'm not playing it. Finding cards like that is fun. Oh, we can also talk about the stupid cube we.
Oh, yeah, I went up and visited Stefan like a week or two ago, a few weeks ago at this point now, I think. Uh and we were there with one of our friends that used to play Yu-Gi-Oh but no longer does. And
We
we're
didn't have any domain decks laying around, or else we would have had him play domain with us.
yeah, so what we did was is we just grabbed cards out of Stefan's thing, threw them in a pile, and then drafted with them and made our own little cube, and it was fun. There's some cards I feel like it's missing like a lot more removal, like and everything of single target removal. Uh,
Like I said, you guys just have to grab some cards and throw them in there too, because
mm-hmm.
it's not going to get touched. Everything's just going to get added to the soup. Because it's not a themed thing at all. It has no theme at all. It's just probably it's supposed to. I think it's supposed to be annoying as heck.
Just generically, I tried to put in cards that are just they can go in generically, like
Generically good.
the one card I had. I put in there is a Dino Sewing, just because it's a monster. It's a 0/0 that can't be destroyed by battle, so you could like tribute summon over things and stuff. That was my idea of putting it in. Dustin tried to throw in like cyber dragons and all these unfair floodgates and everything.
Necro Valley is BS, and I really don't think. I think it, and this is probably because the fact that it was stopping me, but it was also stopping you. And I guess in a 1v1 match, that card would just steal the whole thing, really. Like, because
Yeah,
we didn't have as much targeted removal as we really should have. And if we did, some of us, me, probably blew it on other things that I shouldn't have. And
we had like a stack of
yeah, Necro Valley
MSTs.
wasn't fun.
There's like a stack
This
of
is
them.
like I love it because like one of us, probably me, flipped the Vandies, and he went, "Well, Vandies is fine." I'm like, Vandies is fine in this because there's enough removal that Vandies will naturally get rid of itself. Necro Valley's there until you deal with it, and in a format of nostalgic cards and stuff.
He wasn't very happy when he attacked into my Pot of the Forbidden and I Raigeki his field.
Oh god, that was so tilting. It's like what? And it's like, yeah,
I destroy all your
for
monsters.
Pot of the Forbidden, Giga Chad card in that.
Yeah, I tribute set it too, by the way. It's like
You did because he had the obelisk out too. It was
yeah.
great. Like I'm gonna tell you, it's like this set is so awful. Like these pile of cards are so awful. Like we had super powerful games at the start, then we got towards the bottom of it, and they got worse and worse. And I think we shuffled it up and tried again, and it
Oh,
just
it was the last one was awful. Everything.
yeah. The last one was like super bottom of the barrel everything, and like
You almost you beat me on the last turn. You were like, oh, you got your last card and finally beat me in that last game.
the drama whole deck. I think.
Yeah, it was.
So that's when we discovered that one water monster is busted. Can't be destroyed by battle. Flips face up. Draw card.
Oh,
I was just
Moko
playing
Moko.
Pac-Man.
Yeah,
Moko Moku. Moko Moko. So good. Like cards that have battle protection in our cube were so good.
you
Like
need I think Moko Moko we should have more of it, but we should also have stuff like a lot more like cross out noblemen of cross outs and stuff like that.
I was just thinking
So
about Nobleman of Crossouts would be fine because, like, I was thinking about it and running the gears through my head. I'm like, eventually, you're just going to be able to build Pac-Man in that set, and it's not going to be
yeah,
fun to play against a Pac-Man that's unchecked. Um, guy, anyone that doesn't know what Pac-Man is just a really obnoxious flip deck that all my cards are more valuable than yours, and things are just going to suddenly just start.
So Pac-Man, fun fact, because I'm a nerd for this stuff too. Pac-Man is an acronym for a deck, and it was back in like 2003, and it dominated Playgrounds because Playgrounds didn't have side decks, and you kind of had play with what you had. Pac-Man had stuff like Deslakuda and Swarm of Scarabs and Swarm of Locusts, and a bunch of other trap cards to protect them and stuff like that. So what's happening is they're flipping up, they're popping cards, and they're drawing cards. And Pac-Man is an acronym that stands for Pure Advantage Camel Munches All Noobs. So so the Pure Advantage Camel is the Deslakuda, and the Munches All Noobs are the swarms. So
Yeah, that makes so much sense because I think
mm,
even when I played on the playground, I was always trying to build a Pac-Man like deck. Like everything on Playground Yu-Gi-Oh either turns into Blue Eyes through Flute of Summoning Dragon or Pac-Man
or randomly
or
chaos.
whatever or
like
randomly Chaos. Yeah.
yeah,
Like the fact that Chaos exists in Playground Yu-Gi-Oh and people go, "Yeah, Chaos Sorcerer." Like I said, Chaos Sorcerer,
it,
one of my favorite
it's
cards.
because
Like I love the artwork
it's
for
because
it.
Chaos Sorcerer was it was such a good card, and
Yeah.
it was a common. So realistically, kids could get it in packs. They could open a pack and get Chaos Sorcerer and have this good boss monster that just kind of summons itself out. Light and Darks are the best Darks are the best monsters in the
Yeah.
game. It's like
So
Dark and
a lot
Earth.
of your playground decks were chaos. So it's like chaos was inevitably going to happen in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Mm-hmm.
Like, because doesn't like Blackluster Soldier's name just roughly translate to something chaos or, he's just a
Yeah,
chaos monster?
yeah. Even the ritual one is a chaos monster in Japanese.
Yeah.
So it's part of the
Yeah. In
chaos
Japanese,
archetype.
he's a chaos. Yeah.
So Playground Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of an interesting topic because that's what people think about when they think of old Yu-Gi-Oh. They don't actually think about real competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. They think of playground stuff because that's what they had, right? Most of the people that play or are our age, when that would have been around, they were on the playground playing. They weren't in the things. You get a few adults at that time that were playing that remember it, but even then, a lot of them don't remember properly because there wasn't any like major tournaments. You might get like a few locals, but locals are locals. You like they're not really crazy unless your locals is like a highly competitive locals that plays a lot of meta. But most of them, at least not only that for Magic and in Yu-Gi-Oh, even when I went to one of the Yu-Gi-Oh stores up in Portland called that's no longer around anymore, locals that had like 30 people at their locals, it still was relatively like tame. There wasn't like I think there's like one or two people playing like a meta deck, and then the rest weren't. So it.
I mean, the fact that I can still play Sprite and do well at a local level is, you know,
Mm,
that's fine.
I got
Like,
second. I got second in that 30-person locals with spell books in 2016.
oh man.
So
But yeah, no, local level stuff, you like people will play the meta decks and stuff, but yeah, I think a lot of times, unless you're like prepping for an event, you're gonna really be playing the meta unless you're
mm,
that one guy that seemed to have come to try and beat me a few times and kinda couldn't. So but yeah, it happens. I mean, I'm not the best player. I just
but
play Sprite. I know
me
how to play
getting
Sprite.
me getting second with spellbooks and that like locals makes sense for me because I've been playing it online since 2013, and so I knew how to play the deck very well. And I just got all the cards in like 2016 and everything, so I was playing it there. And as you once said, Stefan, spellbook players tend to be really good players because their deck doesn't do anything really.
It's not that the deck doesn't do anything, it's that it feels like because I've played your spellbook like domain deck, and I
Mm,
felt like, or it wasn't well. It had spell books in it. I don't think it was actually spell books. It
It was
wasn't
Luna.
Luna Control.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luna. And like I felt like there was all these tasks that I kind of had to manage, but
Mm,
everything was like so much advantage gaining. I actually had to sit there and be like, "Whoa, got pump the brakes," and I have to almost
mm,
control what everybody's doing and control my own tasks. And I went, a person that can do this and not just sit there and go, "Huh, I don't know what to do."
mm.
That's really impressive. Like, really good spellbook players are really good because they think in like 30 moves ahead.
Oh, speaking of thinking of moves ahead, I know that our locals, Jesse Cotton put out a video talking about how to get better at Yu-Gi-Oh. I haven't watched it, but one
I
of our,
should.
yeah, they probably should, but the but Trevor, I remember our friend Trevor was saying that like, yeah, I don't think of it like this and everything, and everyone's like, well, that explains a lot. You're not thinking at least one or two steps ahead. It I've talked about breaking boards and not letting the enemy boards overwhelm you and stuff like that. I've also talked about on the podcast how I sit there and mentally think of how I'm breaking the board as I play. I'll do thought experiments of just random boards and think of how to break them. Yes, the other day I was sitting there like, how do I break this
You
like
got me.
impossible board? And I think the board is actually impossible to break. But
That's that impossible board. Like you were sitting there and like I remember because I was I was playing Chrono Cross. I
mm,
think I'm playing an RPG, trying to pay attention to it. And you're talking and talking, and I just like I'm sitting here and I'm like I understand what he's saying. I'm keeping track of a few of these cards, but I'm sitting here going, oh, I do this. You're like, no, this card's out. I'm like, oh, well, I do this. Well, that card's out. I already told you it's out. I'm like, well, shoot, what do I do?
yeah, so it was like all it is Majesty's Fiend. You have Majesty's Fiend, so you can't activate. No one can activate monster effects. You have Spell Canceller out, so no one can activate spells or their effects on the field. Same thing with Jinzo. And then you had Last Warrior from Another Planet. No summoning at all. No activating monster effects. No activating spells, and no activating traps. What do you do?
And the only thing I could think is you had to get a card into the graveyard somehow
So
and use a graveyard effect, but
yeah,
I don't think you can.
you don't. So what would have to happen? Because I figured it out later after that call ended, and it's so impractical. You're probably losing before that. But what has to happen is you have to have a monster that cannot be destroyed by battle. So you set that down and you wait a few turns.
And wait 3 turns
Yes, you have to wait three
and
turns.
discard breakthrough skill.
Either breakthrough would work, and you could just negate the spell, or if you don't do that, the second thing to do and the more is discard transaction rollback and like elemental burst, like and just blow up the whole field that way. So it's so impractical to get out of that it's not likely that you're gonna do it. In fact, it's not likely you're getting those out in the first place. So
I could do it in Paleozoic.
yeah, I mean you could out the board in Paleos. You couldn't make that board in Paleos.
No, I know. You like I could probably out it. Um no, no, actually I would have to have a thing that couldn't be destroyed by battle.
Mm.
And I don't think anything in my deck that I can just normal set would do that. So, like, I would have to be running some weird card.
Good old Spirit Reaper, let's go.
Is that like the Spirit Reaper is makes both of us just sit there and just like do the
we're
freaking Windows noise
we're
of
thinking about
internet
this.
connecting?
We're thinking about this the wrong way of what monster to choose. We were talking about it earlier. Clearly, we play Moko Moko. You obviously don't
I've
get to flip.
thought I have thought of playing it in Paleozoic. Just after that whole interaction with that thing, I'm like, this card earns spot almost. Almost.
But yeah, you would have to like have the perfect cards. breakthrough is a more realistic thing, because with breakthrough, all you need to do is either stop the last warrior, and then you could summon. You won't get monster effects, but you could summon and attack over things. Or the second thing, what you would do is discard the breakthrough skill. Then after that, you hit the spell canceller and just Raigeki the field, or Dark Hole or
Yeah.
something. So like it just depends on what type of deck you were playing. For like, I guess it did, like, depending on your hand. Let's use commonly played cards that most decks play. You could hit the Jinzo, then you could like use well, okay, no, that's not gonna work, because if you're playing Breakthrough, you're probably not playing Imperm. But I guess you could hit Spell Canceller and then Droplet their board going in game one, because Droplet's the main deck card. So it's very hard. It's still a hard board to out. Everything has to go right. So it doesn't. It's not like perfect.
It it's hilarious because breakthrough was like my only thought on that whole thing. And like, because when we were talking about it in my brain, I was like, if I could just discard breakthrough somehow,
Uh,
which
it's fun fact to our audience. I might have talked about it before, but I ran into a long time ago. We're talking like 2007 or 2017 or 2018, maybe even 2019. In that era
I
of
remember that
Yu-Gi-Oh,
regional. Yeah.
I ran into a Last Warrior from Another Planet deck, and I just set a breakthrough. I drew breakthrough skill and I set it, and it was my out. So I outed
I don't
the
even think it was that. It was you had milled it at one point and he had the game locked down. He's like, I don't see how you win. And you just fanned out your graveyard and went, breakthrough skill, I'm going to start playing. And you went, why are you playing that? And you're like, I can't afford anything else.
yeah. Uh,
And I'm just standing there going, hmm, hmm. Because I think I had scrubbed out at that point. Yeah.
uh,
And I was just watching.
I mean, that was only round 3 or 4. So,
Yeah, fair.
and I was still like, I started at table 1 in that tournament. So I started at table
Yeah.
1, was at table 1 after in round 2 as well, because I won round 1, and then lost in round 2. So round 3, I was at like table like 5. I think I won. Uh, but I still got moved down to like table 10 still, and that's
That
where I
that
encountered him.
that tournament was great because you were just troopering away and like you'd just be like machine dupe. And you told me every time you machine dupe, it doesn't matter when you do it, people just go get it.
The very first tournament I did, my opponent said get it. Every time I machine duped in that one, people would stop and look and stop their game to watch. Like, because I'm at the top tables. I never dropped below table 30 in that whole thing. So
Yeah.
so when hearing someone as high up as I am going card trooper, machine dupe, and people going, what? Like, what is he doing here? Like, probably.
But you remember that format is dominated by people ashing really good targets at the top tables and not being able to ash a card that just says I mill is pretty powerful.
Yeah, that actually came up too during that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I went machine dupe, and I didn't have machine dupe. I just normal summon card trooper and activated effect to mill 3 to hope to just start plays that way. And they tried to ash it, and I said you can't ash it. And they're like, yes, I can. I went, it's not, it's cost, it's not effect. And they freaking, I was like, we can call a judge if you want. And we called a judge. Judge went up, picked up card trooper, read it, went, it's cost, not effect. You can't ash blossom. I milled like Mally. I milled like 3 really good hits off of it and just started all my plays. So my opponent wasn't very happy, and then I ended up winning. And they were like, I was like, yeah, I'm a judge. I was like, I knew, I've known about this interaction too, and everything. And he's like, oh, you should have just told me that. And I was like, don't do that. No.
Don't do that. Don't trust the Don't trust a judge in the middle of your game. Have an outside source tell
Yeah,
you how it goes.
yeah.
That way, it's a fair, firm, consistent thing.
Mm.
Have
Don't.
the judge tell you that they're right.
Yeah. I. It's that was a fun tournament. I was so close. My only losses was one true. I went 5-3 that 8 round tournament. So I went X3 and I lost my final round and I was so upset. uh, so and it was to Altergeist.
Got all the way there. Got all the way there, and you face down the altar guys, and you're just like, shit.
I lost the frogs of all things, which I'm usually really good at beating. It's just that I happened to brick the games I played against them. I think game one I full comboed and I couldn't do anything, and then games 2 and 3, uh, I bricked. Or they went first and I couldn't break through the board, and then game 3 I bricked. So that was like the frog experience for that. Uh, True Draco was like in round 2 or something like that when I lost. I lost to True Draco because Masterpiece was still legal at this point. By the way,
Yeah, Masterpiece was a pretty good card.
it was limited, but it was you could search it. So it was Diagram was limited, everything like that. So it was rough, and I lost to it, and that opponent was like, I don't understand why it's called Troop Dupe and Scoop. Because sure, you use Card Trooper and Machine Dupe, but I don't see a reason to scoop. I was like, well, because I'm milling 9 cards. It's like when someone activates Grass on you, are you really gonna stick around for the whole Grass combo? And they're like, I guess not, but Grass is 20. I was like, and this is 9 to 12. So
You get 9 cards, and if your field is open, you're going to take
50.
56. No,
Let's see, it's 38. Plus 19 is
so 57.
yeah, 57.
Like you're taking 5,700 damage, not on top of whatever the graveyard does.
Mm,
And it's not like you were playing the actual reason that you scoop, which is just
the
you
limiter
know,
removal, yeah.
yes, limiter removal was it's the whole format was like limiter machine beat was just mill limiter removal you lose.
Yeah, I was more focused on the milling aspect because that's the better part of the card. Uh,
Yeah.
that's why when I've had people effect veiler me, my card trooper, I went, cool, I don't care. My effect is milling. Dude, that deck, when we played it in toss format, that deck is still good. Like for that format, that's nuts. I was like,
The problem is what's her
Appaloosa,
nut is Appaloosa is a really unfun card. Like
Appal
I'm thinking
format.
about it, and I'm just we're playing this, and I'm like, you Appaloosa, and I'm sitting here going, why weren't you playing this back in Toss? And you went, I couldn't afford it, and no one would loan me it.
That was the actual reason. The only reason I had the Nap Beast originally was because AJ let me use it, and then uh, after I gave it back to AJ, I just got one later and everything because it got like a reprint or something that
So
made it cheap.
I was thinking about it as like somewhere I should have had a Nat Beast too, and I should have been able to just be like, yeah, use it.
But Appaloosa into Nat Beast was a much better inboard than my normal inboards. But the thing was is that like it was really like that was a better inboard, but my inboards were like usually good enough back in that format because playing things with access to all cards is a lot different than playing things where people have limited access to cards. So like me ending on like either Boral Sword or Boral Load Dragon sometimes actually was just enough. Like a Nat Beast Boral End or Boral Load, uh, not Boral Sword or Boral Load sometimes was actually enough to win, and then I have them game on the crackback. So it just depended really. There was like the deck. I think my first version of that deck could easily OTK. The Apo Nat Beast one is really geared towards it, so it actually has a little bit of issues OTKing. It usually comes up a little short, but it's not like the worst thing ever. I in that version I'm no longer playing the Utopia and Utopia the Lightning package that I was back in the day, which got me out of so many things and it was really funny. But like,
Yeah, that package is hilarious.
mm, uh,
Pretty sure AJ still has my lightning too.
but I loved that deck. Unfortunately, that deck has been so far power crept that I can't do it. I'm much better player now though too than I was back in toss format, so I can actually understand what I should side a little bit better, so I could fit in hand traps. Because I
Well,
remember,
that's like when Sky Striker was really big,
mm-hmm,
and it had its whole format, and I was still playing Paleozoic. If we were to play it now, and I was playing against Sky Striker with the Paleozoic build that I had, even as awful as my builds were back then
mm,
because of limitation and stubbornness, I think it would have done 100% better because I understand so much more about the deck now on how to manage boards that I would just be
yeah.
winning.
Well, like when we were playing toss, I think I dropped a droll on you in it, and you were like, you weren't playing that card back then, and I was like, yeah, but I sucked back then. So
I mean, I owned that card back then, and I was sideboarding it every once in a while. But
it
yeah,
that card was cheap back then too, because it like was in a structure deck, so you could get it. It was in the uh Pendulum Magician structure deck or something like that, the Endymion one.
was it in the Pendulum Magician? I thought there was a point when it was still a real expensive rare.
For 2019, it was in the Endymion structure deck.
Okay, okay.
And so it was like a $2 or $3 card. I just didn't have online income like I do now. So like it was just one of those things where I pretty much had what I had. It's why like out of all the meta decks I've been able to play, it was either just pure luck that I got them, or I did a lot of trading because I got cards that happened to spike up later. So like I played
Yeah,
like Metal Foes were a dirt cheap meta deck. They're like an exception to it because they were a meta deck that was cheap. All the cards were cheap. The whole package was you didn't. It was like pennies on the dollar, and everything was rare or uncommon, or not rare or common. I mean, so it's like or super, but supers were guaranteed in every pack. So at that point, so they weren't very like crazy. Um, Teller Knights. The reason I had that is because I was babysitting at the time and I saved up money, and I bought a booster box and ended up pulling half of a Teller Knight cord that uh, uh that I had half Teller Knight, half Shaddoll in my core, and I traded the Shaddoll core and got the Teller Knight part, which in hindsight is a bit of is was a bit of an oversight, but I like the way the Teller Knight deck played more. So it
played like old Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah. Uh, Same thing, and then I did the same thing with Secret Forces, and pretty much pulled almost the whole Ritual Beast core. I was only missing like $80 worth of cards, and then I traded a Valkyrius I got to our friend Jared, and got the rest of the Ritual Beast cards and some staples. So it that was like a whole thing that like most of my meta decks until 2022 was literally just luck that I had them. Um my Magic career was very similar in standard. I would play like these rogue decks or these decks that I just threw together to kind of, and they were either super hard control or they were like super aggressive and everything, because those are the best things you can build on like a budget. So uh it was usually those two. The one like meta deck I had is I had Jeskai aggro or Jeskai tokens for cons, and that's just
Yeah,
because they did a lot of drafting and everything. So my best thing though I've ever done is I got second on game day of like 30 plus people with a green black sacrifice deck in Magic. That's
I
and
loved that deck too because I basically built it too, and I was just like, it's so fun to just sack things and do damage and tax
mhm.
them.
That day I was playing out of my mind though, because not only did I get second place, and the only reason I lost is because of my own misplay. Um, but I went on to do two drafts afterwards and won both of them. So the store owner at the time, uh, he was like, "You played really good today," and I was like, "I did. I played very, very well." I got our buddy Lucas with a tech card he didn't ever see coming. It was pretty funny. He's like, he flipped Jace Vryn's Prodigy on me, which was the like $80 flip Jace at the time, and he
Yeah,
goes activate ability, and I go display of dominance. It destroys a green or black non-creature permanent, and he goes and he reads it like for a long time and everything. He goes, "Yeah, that works, I guess." Because I cited it in because its other mode is like it gives hexproof to your permanents from green and black for the turn. So it was like, and he's playing a blue black control deck. So he was playing Jeskai black. So it made it so it was like I don't know. It was once my creatures stuck, they were being protected. But enough about Magic. More on back onto Yu-Gi-Oh. Uh, Playing through these old formats though, again has taught me to appreciate some decks a little bit more. Uh, X Sabers being one of them because I was a
that
hater.
that deck is.
I was a hater of X Saber. I thought that I was convinced that the only reason that deck did good is because of a bad ruling that was around and everything. Um, but
No, it's a good deck.
it turns out it's pretty good. I just didn't know how to play it last time around. If I played it at all, I don't
Or I
remember.
just drew. I think if you did, I had to have drawn like the nut hand and just
I
made it
think
a non-issue.
I think also you got like Dragon Rulers or something like that. It took you to getting to Dragon Rulers, I think, to knock me off of Gravekeeper to see in season one or something like that. And you knocked me off
Yeah.
that, and then I played Agent, and I kicked you off Dragon Rulers like right away. The first Dragon Ruler deck, and then the second one you started beating me with it, and I was like, oh no.
Well, my favorite part though is like we were like doing our recording and stuff, and we would have our breaks. But I
Mm,
was sitting there and I was like learning how to play the deck even more and learning everything. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I've just been practicing with the deck. And you're like, yeah, we need to start recording now. And I like now I think about it, I go, oh, you were afraid I was going to learn how to play the deck really well, and then
I
just
think I
not let
literally
you
said
play again.
I think I literally said I need to knock you off this deck before you learn how to play it. Like,
Yeah, because I was sitting there and I was playing through it, and I was like, "This is actually pretty fun. I understand why they do this now." And then
mm.
you went, "Yeah, no."
I was like, I need to knock him off this deck because he's getting really good at it, and he's gonna be here forever. And then I knocked you off of it. I think it took me getting to Dragon Rulers, like full power Dragon Rulers, to knock you off that. And then you got on like the Spirit Control deck that was in Fire Water format and knocked me off that and the other Dragon Ruler with it. And then I think I played Fire Kings and I finally got out of I got out of that or something. But yeah, it series one was pretty fun for a lot of things, but given that we're a lot better players or we understand these formats a lot better now, um, I'm looking forward to some of the other ones. Hat, I'm like actually 50-50 for our series because we play a lot of hat now off camera and
But
we know a lot about it now.
we play a lot of off camera. We played a lot of Trooper. We've always played Trooper.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I don't think we're as quite as excited for Trooper as we used to be. Um, pretty sure I could walk into a trooper tournament and dominate it. I'd just play your
Yeah.
Gravekeeper deck and I'd win.
Yeah. That Gravekeeper deck fucking
um,
in Trooper was really made me realize it is a good thing we got the Seal of Orichalcos as late as we did in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, because if we got it when the show had it, that thing would have been a menace, because as it turns out, giving everything 500 attack across the board is actually really, really strong in 2007.
I could deal with everything. I could deal with a lot of that deck. And I'd be like, yeah, I could play through this. I could play through this. It's always the field spell and always my monsters are always going to inevitably be bigger. And if they're not bigger, don't worry. They're just going to let me get into an even bigger one.
Yeah. It's funny because my whole thing about why I decided to play is not just because I liked Gravekeepers, but because I kept looking at the stupid Perfect Circle Monarch deck and how he kept drawing cards and kept reviving cards and stuff like that and banishing cards to summon Mallies, and I went, I bet you Necro Valley would be really good against this deck. And it
It
is.
was like,
Uh,
because I learned how to play Perfect Circle really well.
mm, shout outs
So
to
we all
Ruthless. Shout out to Ruthless Denial. A card I
I remember because I was scrolling down our list of cards we had access to, and inevitably we both were going to encounter it because we were doing at the
yeah.
same time normal spells. And I went, "Hey, have you ever heard of this card, Ruthless Denial?" And you went, "No," and you typed it in, and you went, "Wait, this is a card?"
I,
And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't know either."
when I hear a card's name, I usually assume it's a bad card if I've never heard of it before. But Ruthless Denial is kind of crazy. I mean, I've talked about it a few times now, I think, on the podcast, but I think that card is like that card. I Man, if you it, we just need like the right way to get that card and just rip cards out of the opponent's hand. Luckily, it doesn't give hand knowledge. I think if it gave hand knowledge, it would have been banned by now because people probably would have played it. But
I think in an older format that we have access to Diamond Dude in, we might be able to abuse it though.
yeah, maybe.
Because you can Diamond Dude it off the top, and even if it's in the graveyard, you could probably Feather of Phoenix it back on the top,
Mm-hmm.
activate your Diamond Dude, get the rip, and even if the tribute or send part is not cost, still the fact that you can just rip a card, you know, we just
Well,
have to recycle it.
target is part of the activation. Um, and usually with Diamond Dude, things that like target as part of activation requirement are usually really weird with him. So like it's like why you can't hitting Pot of Avarice off Diamond Dude doesn't do anything and everything. So uh because you have to target the 5 cards and they have to shuffle in, but it completely just bypasses that. If you have things that like can one of the conditions is controlling a card, it's different. But if the condition is like targeting a specific card, because Diamond Dude bypasses that, you can't usually use it. So I'm pretty sure you can't actually use Ruthless Denial off Diamond Dude because you have to target a monster you control. It says select, but with the way it's templated, it would be if it had problem solving card text, it would say target a monster you control, colon, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, your opponent sends a card from their hand at random to the graveyard. So like it would be something like
I
that.
might check. I might check the old text files that we used to get with every set, and see if that what part of that how that card should react. Because some older cards like that, in case people didn't know, there's these resources out here. A couple of the judge groups you can usually get access to them if you just search for it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's actually old card texts and stuff that don't have problem solving text, but we have official FAQs and stuff from Konami that say, "Hey, this is how this card works. This
Yeah.
is it targets when a card used to say select. It's like, no, no, no. We know this card targets because the frequently asked questions for this set say yes, it targets. You know, so it might be able to find an old.
It's like Avatar of the Pot, right? how in the old wording of it is just one sentence. You can send one pot of greed from your hand to the graveyard to draw 3 cards is one sentence, and I have to explain to people, I know it's one sentence, but the sending to pot of greed is cost. I know that like normally there's like some kind of weird punctuation or something, but it's cost. It was one of the frequently asked questions, and we still haven't gotten. I don't think we've gotten a PSAT problem solving card text thing for it yet, but it is one of those cards. I it is one of the cards that yes, sending the pot of greed is cost. So even though it's one sentence, uh,
Makes that card slightly worse.
yeah, a lot worse. And I don't remember on what video, but I remember getting a comment randomly talking about the best god card list, and I had like the tricky and some dark worlds, and I had to be like, the tricky doesn't trigger the dark worlds, and they're like, yes it
Yeah,
does, and I went, no it doesn't. It doesn't trigger the dark
tricky
worlds.
sends.
It no tricky discards,
Oh,
but
discards as cost, right?
uh tricky is a non-classified effect, so it happens all at once.
Mm,
But because
yeah,
of
discards.
but it is considered a cost to discard the card to summon the tricky. It just doesn't activate. So I'd explain that to him. No, that it doesn't work like that. And then I don't. They went and changed something. The idea pretty much was though, use the tricky thing to summon a bunch of tokens to summon out the gods. This was long before the Horus cards and everything. Now you definitely just play the Horus cards. Because at the worst, you can just win with them. So, um, but uh, overall, yeah, I get those. If you have any judge questions, you should write them down in the comment section, and maybe we'll answer some of them. Some. uh,
So I answer judge questions. You just got to realize that when I say something, take it with a pinch of salt or whatever. Like, because what I say and how I understand the game is not exactly the same as it should be. And there are like stuff that will trip me up, and I have to sit there and like pour over every single document thing that I have access to figure it out. That's also why a lot of people that know me were like, well, what's the ruling on this? And it'll be some real obscure thing. And I'll be like, I'm not touching that.
um, I
I
will.
am very much a I'm not touching that.
Uh, I will say the only thing that trips me up is how attack stat changes like work. That whole thing. I don't like touching. Because what makes logical sense a lot to me isn't how it works a lot of the time. So I
is is that like the theory of the Exodia with the burn and that whole entire discussion we had? And I'm sitting here going, I don't know, maybe this is how it works, but this is just me. And like, mind you, I'm at work at this point, like typing up these answers for our locals. And they're like, I don't think that's how that works. I'm like, you know what? Just join the judges lounge and ask the question. And then like, I think it came up that I was very much right. So,
like I know there's
and
some
it's
rulings that
some
random like obscure rulings I know. Uh like how if both players draw Exodia for their opening hand, it's a draw.
statistically unlikely, but it can happen.
Mhm. Um
It's a draw
uh
because
an old ruling or
yeah,
old video that used to I watched and everything a long time ago on a channel called Yu-Gi-Oh for Real Men. And it was a old YouTube. All it did was just do the YouTube combos, the flashy YouTube combos with like the weirdest decks. And one of the coolest ones I saw was an opponent flipped skill drain, and they started doing the Utopia summoning, going ranking up, deranking, ranking up, deranking, and drawing cards off of XC's Beyond. Uh, Goes all the way down to the rank one. XC summons out or plays Zombie World, changes its attribute with the scroll of the equip scroll, calls it of dark, and goes the rank up that goes 2 up, and makes Alucard, then makes and then throws a mischief on it, and she wins because he had over 10 materials or whatever, and it
Yeah,
has a skill drain. And I remember seeing the comments of people going, "Why does it work that way?" I'm like, "Well, it's a condition. It's not a cost. It's not an
condition.
effect." So, because win conditions are cool, uh, as the thing says, they are conditions. Once that condition is met, it triggers. So, like, it'll happen
It
mid chain.
triggers. You have to go like when you draw Exodia and
Mm,
like you've resolved the current effect
yeah.
and you're still in the middle of the chain, you have to go, hey, I have Exodia, game's over. Because there were people like, well, what if I just hold off and my opponent goes to beat me? I go, Exodia, I won a few turns. It's cool. That is unsportsmanlike thing and cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Um yeah, that's huge and like what? And like, yeah, you can't do that. And like,
Yeah.
oh, and I'm like, because as soon as you have it, you need to keep the game state solid and be like, I win.
So, like, even, like, let's say you chain 3 Reckless Greeds and everything to each other. You go Reckless Greed, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, another Reckless, Chain Link 3, the third Reckless. Alright? Their reckless greed number 3 resolves, or in chain link 3 resolves. If you drew Exodia, even though these two are on the chain, you win right there before these two cards resolve, because this chain link 3 already resolved. The game state technically checks for win conditions at this time, and if one condition is met, game's over. So
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. 'Cause you have to tell people, yeah, no, you can't just hold it and go, I won already. I had Exodia the whole time. So yeah, no, don't do that.
that's also why,
That's
like,
unsportsmanship.
Exodia. There's tons of cards out there. Uh, that, like, Exodia is one of the reasons why you can't just like draw your 5 and place your hand face down and not look at it. You're supposed to hold up your hand and everything to look at the 5 you draw. Is one, because of Exodia, 2, hand traps, and 3, that's just proper etiquette. Uh, but before hand traps, or I mean, not before hand traps, but before, like, I had access to them, I would honestly, a lot of times for locals, draw the 5 cards, look at them, and just put my hand down the table, and just, if I got second, because it's locals. But don't do that. But you shouldn't do that, and I don't do that
Flick your
anymore.
hand.
We've already talked about that. Shuffling your hand actually can let you see other plays and stuff like that. We've talked about that.
Because I love it because I've seen people they're flicking so fast. How do they even? I'm like, doesn't matter. It's so that you're keeping your hand and you're actively doing something with it instead of setting it down
Mm.
and making your opponent think that there's something set on the field or causing
Yeah.
because
Also, another reason why is because you might accidentally shuffle your hand into your deck, and don't do that. That game state is unrepairable.
I went to the bathroom for 5 minutes. Okay, I don't even
Mm-hmm.
think it was 5 minutes.
Is the only time. Yeah, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't rewind. There's nothing to rewind here. I can't just trust you to pick out the exact cards you had in your hand. I was like, I know how many cards you had in your hand because I was watching the thing and everything, but I can't just let you pick 5 cards. So, game
That's a game
loss,
loss.
and a warning to both of you for not maintaining proper game state.
Well, that's a caution.
A caution. Oh, I'm sorry. The same difference. Uh,
Caution on a local level. You don't have to like log it into the system and it's
mm,
like, come on, guys, we're at locals. That's caution. And then you can upgrade from those. At least back then, it used to be something. I don't even think anyone actually uses that anymore. And
mm.
if anyone does, like locals, is usually you have to be really dirtbagging it for them to go. Okay, we're logging all of this now.
I've called slow play at locals. Back when you
Yeah,
could. I mean, you can still do it now, but like it has to be without an unreasonable doubt. But yeah, he's been standing there for 10 minutes. I have to, and you're like, I have to ask you to actually start playing.
Well, because I was thinking about it, and like I keep an eye on all the games. Like for the most part, I was, and I was just like, it doesn't look like his hand has changed at all, and the field hasn't changed. Like, dude, I was like, how long has it been? It's like, dude, I've clocked it at this minute. It's like, oh god, do something.
I
Come on, man. And that same for same guy for looks like you're the only person to ever call slow play. I'm the only person to ever enforce a slow play. I'm like, dude, when I have a person staring at the clock instead of the field.
yeah. I mean, because at first I was watching him, and I'd like kind of glance up at the clock every so often, and then yeah, I just started looking at the clock because he couldn't think of how to out my board, and all it was, granted, this is like 2014, so this board is actually like you have to kind of think about it. And I made a Draco stack, had 2 tokens, and a Felgrand, and that was it. And it was like, oh, and I had like a breakthrough skill face down and like my field spell out. So he sat there for like 10 minutes, and then he broke the board. He did break it, and he did end up doing it with the cards he had in hand. It just took him like that long to figure out how he was doing it. So I remember too when he was like, "You're the only one that's ever called it on me," and I'm like, "I wasn't there to make friends." I, I've had to tell our locals that when you go to regionals, you're not there to make friends. Don't be afraid to call the judge on
I,
them.
I say it all the time, yet I'm the one who makes the most friend stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, hey. Hey, in between rounds, I say, "Oh, hey, we play, sir. Yeah, hey, what's up?"
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't
But
know. I'm just friendly, I guess.
yeah.
It's because I nerd out over decks.
Yeah. It's the game can be really fun. It can also be very frustrating. Yu-Gi-Oh is a very skill intensive game, and overall though, I still love this game, and I don't know if I'll ever hate it truly.
I
Um, but
Yeah, I don't think I could hate the game. I jokingly say I hate it all the time and all that other stuff, and I'm gonna go play Kai Judo or go play with some Beyblades or
just
something.
like I
But
just like I joke about, I don't even know why they printed this garbage. It's just like
that every time you say a phrase that just like I've said before in true anger, it really just tilts me sometimes because I'd be like,
uh
I said that, and I know I said that, and now you're calling me on it.
it's funny because when I actually say that, I'm not actually referencing you. I'm referencing this old magic skit and everything.
Hmm.
And it wasn't even a skit. I think it was a live stream of them playing like a cube or something. And someone goes island pass, and the other guy goes, "I can't beat that." I don't know why they printed this garbage to the island. And I was like, hell yeah. It is the most powerful land in
And I
Magic.
know I've said those exact words before to you. I'm pretty sure I'm just like, what? And was, um, but like on like playing against people in friendly though, I have had a couple of games where like the people were like, "Oh, how'd your last round?" Goes, "Oh, my opponent looked really angry and salty," and I'm sitting there going, and I'm standing listening was like, "No, I wasn't. Do people just not know how to read my face?"
Mm. Uh, I think we've rambled on. It's been an hour. If you like this episode, the last 2 episodes we've been just kind of chatting and having fun. This hour's gone by pretty fast. When we first started the podcast, it actually took us a long time to hit like the 30-minute mark. We'd have to like fill it out with stuff, and now we're just talking.
Oh, it's so cringy too, because I'd always like look at the clock and go, "How long's it been?" And be like, 10 minutes. Damn.
And now it's just we're just talking and BSing. But if it's your birthday today, happy birthday! Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and of course, and as always, have a wonderful day.